I'm James Ernest, and today we are playing Deadfall. Deadfall is one of my favorite bluffing games. It's played with a pairs deck. There's a specific pairs deck called Deadfall just for this, with great art of fantasy creatures on it. But of course, you can play with any pairs deck. A pairs deck is a triangular deck that is one copy of the number 1, 2 2s, 3 3s, 4 4s, all the way up to 10 10s. It plays lots of different games, all from the cheap-ass catalog. And as I said, Deadfall is among the greatest of them. So Deadfall is a bluffing game. You are trying to guess when certain ranks of cards have been exhausted, have been totally played out, which means you're guessing what people have left in their hands. I'm only going to deal out a fraction of the deck, and so it's always a guessing game. But when you play a bluffing game correctly, you can read other players by what they choose to do, and even like their facial expressions and how long they take to make decisions. And it really only works once everyone understands the game. So play a few hands of this before you'll start seeing where the bluffing and the deduction comes in. The very basic rules are this. We're playing for chips. Every penalty is expressed in numbers of coins. So even though these are $5 chips, we're going to call them 1 coin for the purpose of this game. Everyone antes 1 coin to create a pot to start the game. The only other coins that pass are between the winner and the loser of the hand. There's a penalty that the loser has to pay to the winner. Everyone else just loses their ante. So I'm going to shuffle, and I deal a hand of 6 cards to each player. If there were a lot of players in the game, I would deal slightly fewer cards. If there were very few players, I would deal slightly more. The point is to have a certain amount of the deck unknown. Every player is going to look at their hand. They're going to pick a card called a door card, a starting card to reveal face up to start the round. Okay, everyone's looked at their hand, they've chosen a card they want to lead with, and we're all going to turn them up simultaneously. The low card will go first. And so the knight, the 2 here, is going to take the first turn. That's the red pawn. On your turn, you can either play a card or call somebody. You're not allowed to fold in this game. You've got to keep your wits about you. When you play a card, you are making a statement, and that statement is, I believe this card is still alive. The reason it's called Deadfall is because you're trying to suss out which cards are dead. If you play a 2, you're saying, I think someone still has a 2 in their hand. But the thing is, it's safe to do it on the first round, because if you play another card on top of that, if you bury that 2, then no one can call it anymore. It's a thing of the past. So if you play a card, if you play a 10, you're saying someone still has a 10 in their hand. I think that's fairly safe to say, since there's 10 10s in the deck. If you play a 2, you know, that might be the only 2 in the game. And so it's possible that 2 will get called. When you play it first, you get to bury it with another card, and then no one can call it. All right, so that's what playing a card means. The other thing you can do is call, and that is to look back at the cards that were just played and say, I think you're wrong. I think the statement that you made in playing that card was a lie or was just plain wrong. I think, for instance, this player is next. Blue can call this 4. It's based on the order of play, so this is the last 4 that was played in turn. Blue can call green and say, I think that you're wrong. I think that 4s are dead. And then if the call happens, that's the end of the hand. Everyone shows their cards, and 4s are either alive or dead, and one of these 2 players is right and pays a penalty, in this case, the value of the card, which is 4, to the winner. So the loser pays a penalty to the winner. The winner also takes the pot. So it's on blue, and blue can decide, look, there's 3 of the 4s are exposed right now. It's probably, I don't know, it's maybe 50-50 that someone didn't get a pair of 4s and just played out one of them. So blue could call this 4 or could play another card. Blue is going to play this 6. That's the first 6 revealed. It probably isn't going to get called. Purple's going to say the same thing. I play the 8. I don't think the 4 is the last 4. Well, I'm going to look at my hand. I don't have a 4 in my hand. So instead of playing a card, I'm going to call the 4. I'm going to end the hand. I'm going to say, I think 4s are dead. Now we all show our hands. I don't have a 4. That was important to know. Nothing but 8s and 10s over here. The real question is whether green had a pair of 4s and had to lead out one of them. And they did. There's another 4. So I was wrong. I was wrong to call the 4 when green played the 4. He said 4s are alive. He knew it because he had the other 4 in his hand. So I lose. I pay 4 coins into the pot. Green takes the pot, and that's the end of the hand. So there's no dealer button in Deadfall. The position of dealer is irrelevant because the first player is always determined by that first card that's played. So one player can deal the whole game, or the deal can pass around just depending on who likes shuffling and dealing and who does not. Okay, I'm going to shuffle the deck. I'm going to deal a hand of 6 cards to each player. And each player is going to now pick from their hand a starting card to play. The low card is going to go first, and play will proceed from there. So let's talk about the 1. The 1 is a kind of a special case. You almost have to play the 1 as your starting card, because if you play it at any other point in the game, you're declaring that someone still has a 1, which is impossible. So it's not that bad of a card to play first, because you will go first. You can call somebody if you want, or you can cover that card with a new card and no one can call you. If you have the 1, you are probably going to lead it, and knowing that means if no one plays the 1, you have to assume it's not out there. There's no real deceptive power in holding a 1 and playing some other card, but you're just getting a card in your hand that you can't play. If you figure out a way to keep the 1 deceptively and actually make a pot out of it, I want to hear about it. This is the start. Everyone plays 1 card to start the round, and we've got 2 3s and a 2. If there was a tie for low card, everyone would play another card to break that tie, so it might be someone else who gets the low card on the second round. And maybe you would hold a 1 to do that, but how would you know that you could? How would you know that there would be a tie? It's not a tie, though. The 2 is the lowest card, and so the action's on me, and my options are either to play a new card, which does bury the 2, or to call somebody. I look back across the field and I see that 2 3s are played, meaning there's only 1 3 left in the game. About half the cards are in the deck. And so I could just make an instant call, and this is the risk of leading a 3, is if you are not the first player, and someone else plays another 3, you are likely to get called. Now, who can I call? Because of the order of play, if several cards are played of the same rank, each one of them was correct. There are still 6s. There are still 6s. There are still 6s. There are still 6s. Every one of those was correct, except possibly the last one, meaning that I can only call the person closest to my right when I call someone. That's true on the deal, even though this is sort of a random starting point. This 3 was technically, by my position, played before this 3, so this is the 3 I can call. Totally random, but this is the player that I can call. So I called this 3. It's out of the gate. There's a call. I'm going to look at my hand and make sure I'm not a fool. Okay, so there's no 3 in my hand, and there's no 3 in anybody's hand, so I was right. This player took a risk in leading that 3 because another 3 sort of outed him that, okay, that's probably the last 3. So I win the pot and a 3 coin penalty from the person who played the 3. So is that much of a risk? No, not really. I mean, you sometimes want to hang around and call a higher value just because it's worth a bigger penalty. But I like getting out with 3 extra coins. I'll do that, and we'll play again. To start the round, everyone antes 1 coin. These are $5 checks, but they just count as 1 coin. Everything is in numbers of coins for this game. And everyone gets a starting hand of 6 cards. That means 25 cards are left in the stub. That's what happens in a 5-player game. It means basically half the cards are in play, half the cards are out of play. That's important information when you're trying to figure out the odds of a card still being alive. Everyone looks at their hand and they play 1 card as their door card. That's the first card of the game, and the lowest door card is going to take the first turn. If you have the 1, you probably will play it as your door card. All right, everyone has chosen their lead card. I did have the 1, so I went ahead and played it. And outside there's a straight. There's a 1, 2, 3, and a 4 and a 5. On my turn, my options are either to play another card, thus declaring that that card is still alive, or to call any of the most recent cards, the top cards, on anybody else's stack. So I can look back and say, you know, I think that's probably the only 2. I think the other 2 is here. And if I call that 2, I'm going to win the pot and $2 extra from the player who played it. But maybe I look at my hand and think maybe there's another 2 in my hand, or whatever. Whatever reason might be. I'm going to play a card instead, and we're going to get deeper into this round. So on the dragon, I play a 6. So it's green's turn, and they have a choice either to play another card or to call any of the top cards. They can't call my 1 anymore because it's buried now with a 6. So maybe they are suspicious of the 2, but they're also a little suspicious that I didn't call it. Maybe I have information that they don't. They're going to play a 7. That's a nice safe play. Red is going to play a 4. And once again, when you play a card, you are declaring that that card is still alive. That's the second 4. There's still 2 possibly unaccounted for. Now blue has a 3. in their hand, and they're pretty sure that's the last 3. If they play that 3, they're going to get called. If they play it with confidence, they might trick everyone into not calling them, or if they feel like they can't play it with confidence or they've taken too long to think about it, they play the 6 instead. There's a lot of deception that goes into this game, but only after everyone sort of gets the basics. So play a few rounds and learn the procedures before you worry too much about the bluffing. It's very hard to bluff correctly in this game, and it's even harder to read people's minds. But once you can do it, oh, it's so fun. So I'm going to play a 9. That's another super safe play. That's the first 9 that's come out. Back around to here, let's play a super safe 8. Here is a 7 that's safe. And I'm saying safe because these are ranks that are hardly exposed at all. There's another 8. When you say the 8s are still alive, you're probably right at this point. When you say the 5s are still alive, you're taking a bit of a chance. So purple just played the third 5. Everyone's down to just a couple of cards, and anyone who's suspicious might go back and call that 5. It's on me. I don't see a 5 in my hand. It's not all that dangerous for me to play this, though, so I'm going to play this 6. So this player doesn't really like where they are, and they think maybe this is a good time for a steal. So we're going to do this. We're going to call that 5. So this player looks back, sees this 5, and says, I'm going to call that 5. I don't think that there's any 5s left. Shows 9, 10, 10. I didn't have any 5s. There's no 5 here. There's no 5 here. And if purple were clever, they would have had another 5 back. But you can't decide to do that. There's no 5 here either. That was a successful call. Well done. And I'm looking at every hand, so of course I know the answer, but I'm trying not to think about along those lines. The odds were that the other 2 5s were back in this pack. And since other things might have happened to give away more information about that, the timing of the playing of this 5 and everything else factored into whether it was safe or even advisable for green to make that call. So 5 coins, that's a green one, is going to go in this pot, and the whole pot's going to go to green. And purple paid the penalty because purple's the one who got called. Let's play another hand and see some more details. One of the interesting things about bluffing games in general is you're always trying to deduce someone's intent. And this game gives you the freedom to do that, to play with intent, to play contrary to intent, to make moves that look dumb but are actually smart. Because you can play basically whatever cards you want at any point. It's just that the ramifications of some of them are worse than others. There's also some variations, and I'm going to play with 2 of those variations in this game. The first one is called the Cherry, and it's named after the fact that this was originally made with a pairs deck where the number 3 card is the Cherry. The Cherry is a tip that is paid by the winner of the hand to the person who helped them. In other words, if I don't have a 3 in my hand, but someone else does that made me correct, I tip them $1. That's called the Cherry. The other rule that we're going to play in this hand is called breaking 9s, and specifically it means that the first player to play a 9 has to put a coin in the pot. 9s and 10s are so easy that someone should be penalized for playing the first one, right? So breaking 9's $1 to pay a 9, $2, 2 coins, to play the first 10. And that's true even on the deal. So we're going to see somebody had to pay that penalty already. When you penalize someone for an action like that, it changes the makeup of the bluffing, because now when I play that 9, it says something else about my hand. Not just that I played an easy card, but that I was willing to pay that money as opposed to doing something cheaper that might not have been so good. All right, the lowest starting card is going to go first, and that's going to be the 1. And because we declared breaking 9s as an on rule, this player led the first 9, played the first 9 of the hand, has to pay a 1 coin penalty to do it. So blue has a couple of choices. With the 1, they're going to go first. They can either play another card, get the game started, or they can immediately call somebody. And there's a lot of good choices for calling somebody. Calling the knight, there's only two 2s in the deck, and there's one of them. So the knights are probably dead. The same thing is true of the eagles. Both of these 3s have been played. There's only 1 left in the deck. So 3s are possibly dead as well. This is worth $3 with a win. This is only worth 2. So if the dragon wants to do a quick out call, let's just do it. Dragon calls this 3. You have to call the one that was played the most recently, and technically that means the one closest on your right. So blue calls me and says, I think eagles are dead. Let's take a look. Did I have another one? No. Now maybe he looked into my soul and looked into my eyes and said, do you have another 3 and whatnot before he called me. He clearly looked at his own hand and made sure there was no 3 in there. Well, we're going to see if anybody else had a 3. The most dangerous hand that's possible to have a 3 is red because he played a 2. Usually you'll lead your lowest card, although sometimes it's risky to do that. If he had a 2 and a 3, he probably would have played the 2 instead of the 3. But there are no 3s behind, and so blue was correct. He gets 3 coins out of me and takes the pot. Now, does the hand often end on the very first card? Yes, it often does. And that's the risk of playing super low cards as your lead card. You're going to lead into hands where that happens. On the other hand, holding on to super low cards, it just makes a dead card in your hand, a card you can't play later. Now, sometimes you'll have a pair of low cards, and so you'll play one, and so everyone will think, oh, maybe you don't have another one, maybe there's none left. But that's so sketchy that no one trusts you. Like, you build up a reputation for playing those low cards only when you have 2 of them, and then you can get away with doing it when you don't, because people expect this of you. Bluffing games are all about, like I said, reading people's minds, and you only can do that after some experience with the game and some experience with that player. Let's play one more hand and see how it goes. All right, I start everyone with a hand of 6. Everyone antes 1 coin to begin, and we're all going to play 1 door card to open the round. All right, everyone's card is down. Now we're going to turn them all up at the same time, and the low card is going to go first. We have a tie for low card, so we've got 2 4s, 2 5s, and a 6. Because we don't have a starting player, we are all going to play a second card to figure out who goes first. Only the second card matters unless there is a tie for that, and then we're going to look at the card before it. And it looks like some people were holding out on their low cards, and so we might wind up with some lower door cards on the second round. All right, so here's our second door card to determine who goes first. 3, 5, 2, 8, and 3. We've got 2 3s out, but the 2 is lower. So everybody was holding out their low cards until, well, not everybody, but some people were holding out their low cards for whatever reason because they were afraid to lead them on the first round, and they went ahead and did lead them on the second round. Now, purple probably has an easy call with this 3. Purple can call that 3 and is probably right that there aren't any more, except for one little thing. Purple has a 3 in their hand, so they can't do that. If you say 3s are dead and then show a 3, you've just made a terrible mistake. So purple will very obviously not call that 3, which seems like an easy call. That's information for the rest of us. Purple plays a 6, and I go, why didn't you call that 3? I think maybe there is a 3 in that hand. Maybe 3s are still alive. Okay, let's keep moving forward with the game. I'll play another 6. That seems like a good rank to play. Has anybody broken 9s or 10s yet? No, not yet. There's an 8 from green. Here's another 8 from red. Here's yet another 8 from blue. 8s are still not very thin. Well, purple cannot play their 3. There's really no way that's ever coming out of that hand. It's a dead card if it does. So purple needs to start paying attention for a good opportunity to call or get called. They think that 6s are still alive, like legitimately, I think 6s are still alive. So I'll play that. There's not a lot of other good choices in here. Now, this is my hand. I have 10, 9, 9, and I don't, so the 4th 6 just got played. I'm not sure that they're still alive. I think purple thinks they're still alive. I don't think that they are. But I'm still reluctant to take that risk. So I'm going to play my first 9, and that costs me $1. It costs me a coin for breaking 9s. And green's like, yay, because I almost had to do that. And they get away with that for free. Here's a 7 from red. Here's a 7 from blue. And now purple's like, okay, what can I do? No one even thought about calling my 6, and people are starting to play out their high cards. Now, I can't call my own 6. That's the thing. I can't say what I just did was a lie. That's not fair. All I can do is call any of the cards behind me. Do I think 9s are dead? Not really. Do I think 7s are dead? Only 2 7s have been played so far, so no. So I'm in this really sticky spot of playing my 10 or calling somebody. I'm going to play my 10 and stay alive, but I mean, people know that I'm stuck on something nasty over here. It cost me 2 coins because it was the first 10 to enter the pot. Now here comes a second 10 that's free. Here comes another 10 that's free. Oh, everyone's just dropping their 10s now that it's free. And so is blue. Comes around to this player and they're like, well, I'm so screwed because the only card I can see is 10s. I can't call one of those 10s. It would cost me $10. I play this 3. I lose. Because the very next player is going to say, well, gee, that's the third 3, so they're definitely dead. I call you, and that's my pot. You see how purple got in a stickier and stickier spot by sitting on that 3 until there was basically no way out of it. I think the safest thing they could have done is a couple of rounds back, they could have called one of those 7s. I don't think another 7 was on its way out, so like that's the chance they should have taken or could have taken to save losing that extra $3. Any of that was risky though. That was a pretty fun hand, and I hope you played along with it. This is Deadfall. It's only one of many, many good games you can play with a pairs deck. We have lots of different pairs deck art, and we also have lots of different pairs deck games. They're all cross-compatible. Find your favorite art, find your favorite game, and play pairs with us today. I'm James Ernest from Fragment Labs. Thanks for playing today, and I will see you at the table.